Live on a Tuesday. Welcome back inside the vault. It's the 16th of September. I'm Bobby Trossett. This is Sarah Ellison, and today's live stream is brought to you by our friends at Primary Residential Mortgage. Do want to call your attention to a couple different places. One, the live chat, the pinned comment, the show notes, and also maybe a third, the streaming ticker. All that has information on this month's $100 Fanatics giveaway, Sarah, that we're doing this month, which is exciting. It's Baltimore's team store. It's courtesy of Fanatics and Primary Residential Mortgage. We'll tell you more about the instructions in terms of how you can enter in to this month's giveaway. But again, if you want to get a head start, just click on the link that we have in a couple different places, both at the top of the show notes and also as a pinned comment in the live chat. We've got a lot to discuss today. Of course, it is now week 3 of this NFL season. There was a Monday night doubleheader. We'll talk about that from a Chargers perspective, perhaps just because they're the AFC team that won last night. Baker Mayfield and the Bucks, really fun ending to that one as well. I just so happened to be watching the last couple minutes of it while in bed. And Sarah, I don't typically have a TV in my bedroom. I don't know what you and Trevor do in Columbus, and I can't remember because I got the whole Full House tour back in April by your kids. But in my Furnish Finder rental here, I have it. And this is a total odd tangent. We're going to shift into Ravens content in just a second. But I never have a TV in my room. I don't know why. It's just not what I do. Like, it's typically a living room thing only. I was so transfixed by the last 2 minutes of that Bucks game last night that I'm just sitting in my back. I could barely even sleep afterwards. Anyway, random thought there. How are you?
I'm doing well. Didn't expect the TV setup conversation to happen right off the top, but here we are. That was a great game. Good comeback, of course, from Baker and the Bucks there. But we got a lot of Ravens content to get to, obviously. And, to start the show, we have like a smorgasbord of Lamar Jackson kind of content to get to. We've got this weird, we kind of mentioned it briefly yesterday, but it's kind of gotten bigger. These weird accusations that Lamar Jackson is quote unquote stat padding. A lot of insecurity out there, Bobby. Lots of insecurity. We've got John Harbaugh and Cam Newton talking about Shedeur Sanders and how he reportedly asked not to be drafted by the Ravens. And then we've got John Harbaugh talking about Lamar Jackson, how he bailed the team out in a few plays last week. And then we'll go on with other presser news from John Harbaugh's press conference. And then finally, Ray Lewis was in Roquan Smith's ear pregame. We know it was the 30th season anniversary. So Ray Lewis was in the house with his gold jacket, and he for sure was in the tunnel talking to Roquan Smith. That just so happened to be one of Roquan Smith's best games of his career, certainly as a Raven.
It's a great exchange. It's Ravens Productions clip. We'll have that in a little bit. We're glad you're with us on this Tuesday. Like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you could on the way in. Consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership, and we will get, as always, to Super Chats in between topics. By the way, Sarah, not to mention, Bengals make some quarterback moves. We're going to jam-pack this episode over the course of the next hour, but we'll begin, as Sarah just noted, with this tweet from fantasy football analyst. He's got a lot of titles. Michael Florio. I don't believe he's related to friend of the show, Sarah, Pro Football Talk, Mike Florio. I did have to Google that with you in our pre-show meeting, and AI Overview did not tell me there's any relation. But anyway, Michael F. Florio tweets out, Josh Allen sitting the fourth quarter in a blowout. Lamar absolutely pouring it on in a blowout. Feels like last year's MVP race all over again. Sarah, all you got to do is just go take a look at the mentions, which is why we refer to this headline. And as you noted off the top, he is being blasted for this comment. And I'm sure you're about to chime in eloquently with why that's the case.
Well, he is being blasted because, again, this is like, we saw it from some Bills fans. This is some stuff that you would expect from Bills fans. So we didn't make a headline out of it yesterday. We just briefly mentioned it and kind of moved on. But Michael F. Florio, self-described as an NFL analyst at NFL Fantasy and the NFL Network. He's got nearly 85,000 followers. And so, of course, Bills fans were loving this tweet initially. It's been seen nearly 400,000 times. He's got 4,000 likes on it. So because it has gotten so much play, I feel like I needed to slap it down and blast it just like everybody else. I don't know What is going on? I don't know if Michael has any ties. Maybe he's like me, right? I've got a podcast, but I'm a Ravens fan because I used to work there. I don't know if he has any ties to Buffalo. I don't really know his background, but it just feels like a lot of insecurity coming out of Buffalo. And like, this is on top of it. Feels like last year's MVP race all over again, as if there was stat padding going on there. Like, where is this coming from? So let's first address this with just yesterday's games, because obviously the Ravens did go for the jugular with the Browns late in the game. But how are you going to make accusations that Josh Allen sat, therefore insinuating that he didn't get as many bites at the apple as Lamar Jackson did? Bobby, at the end of the day, guess how many dropbacks each quarterback has? You'd think, by the way, Mike and the Bills fans are talking about it, you'd think that Josh Allen had maybe 20 dropbacks. And I'm not talking about snaps, okay? Snaps, you could just hand the ball off, okay? We're talking about dropbacks, which is what they do when they go to pass, okay? You'd think that the way they're talking that Josh Allen had 20 to Lamar's like 50 or something like that. There was maybe some sort of massive discrepancy. Josh Allen had 30 dropbacks. Lamar Jackson had 33. The difference, the big difference with all this stat padding is Lamar Jackson had three more dropbacks. Lamar happened to get up more attempts in those dropbacks, 29 to 25. Again, just a 4 attempt difference. Lamar completed more with his dropbacks, 19 to 14. Lamar put up way more passing yards. Bobby, we went through yesterday how so many of his passes were 10 yards or more. These were high difficulty passes where he was dropping it in the breadbasket, oftentimes on the run, scrambling, and in one case with the defensive tackle draped all over his legs. Okay. So with those 33 dropbacks, Lamar Jackson puts up 226 yards. Josh Allen's 30 dropbacks, only 149. Lamar, with those dropbacks, has 4 touchdowns to 0 for Josh Allen, 0 interceptions for each. Lamar gets a 128.7 passer rating to 73.6 passer rating for Josh Allen. So because one person played later in the fourth quarter, partially because the run game was shut down, whereas Josh Allen's run game with James Cook was going strong. Lamar and the Ravens, to move the ball, had to pass it because Derrick Henry and company just weren't getting it done. So this is the stat padding, 33 to 30 attempts or dropbacks, Bobby? Am I taking crazy pills here?
No, I would tell you if you were. I think you'd tell me the same too. Not to mention, you put the statistics aside for a second. There was only one statistic the Ravens cared about going into week 2, and that's how they performed as a team in the fourth quarter. And so, not that that's like a part of this conversation right here, right? We know that in Baltimore, when it comes to the coverage of this football team and the trend that's followed them in recent years, that was the most important part, playing 4 quarters, as Ray Lewis, hint, suggested that Roquan Smith and his defense do on Sunday against the Browns. Play 4 quarters. They did. And as you requested, they put their foot on the gas pedal and worried about the criticisms afterwards.
Absolutely. And I guarantee Lamar and the Ravens couldn't care less about this. But for 3 reasons, the Ravens played the way they did. Number 1, to your point, the Ravens want to win. Okay. Let's make that abundantly clear. Okay. Those that are taking shots that Lamar cares more about MVP than Super Bowl. Let's make this abundantly clear. The Ravens want to win. Here's number 2 coming off of that. The Ravens must play complementary football in order to win. John Harbaugh and Todd Monken were rightfully blasted in week 1 when a 15-point game or a 15-point lead was dropped. What did Rex Ryan get up the next day and say? He said John Harbaugh is coaching as if he has a Ravens defense of old. He doesn't have the Ravens defense of old. The Ravens are no longer in a position to say, hey, you know what? Even though John Harbaugh can't announce it, they changed their ways because the defense can't hold leads. That doesn't keep the offense, it's not like they're clear of it either. Obviously, the Derrick Henry fumble the week before played into it, but we've now seen dating back to last season in 2024, this defense can't hold leads. Therefore, to win, you need to continue to score points. That's number 2. Here's number 3. In order to score points on offense, it would be nice to have had a run game that could drain the clock, get some first downs. That was not happening in this game. Credit to the Browns defensive line and their corners, everybody, because when they went up the middle, Derrick Henry was stopped. When they try to go outside to the right, Derrick Henry was stopped. When they try to go out to the left, Derrick Henry was stopped. Lamar Jackson wasn't doing much on their legs. Therefore, if you can't count on your defense and your running game is shut down, then in order to win, which is the objective, Lamar Jackson needs to keep throwing. And it's on the Browns for stopping the run game and not the pass game. So let's make that very clear. Now, and that's just speaking to week 2. How this is somehow growing into saying that he's stat padded into last year, that is weird stuff. There are stats here that some people probably wouldn't even understand. How about this? 2 Ravens fans dug deep, and this was good stuff. Here's one. This Lamar stat padded in garbage time, unlike Allen in 2024 narrative, is entirely wrong. This fan goes out and finds the percent of total EPA, expected points above average. So here we go. He breaks it down. I won't even give all the numbers because I don't even know that people will understand it, but he takes how many points above average you would expect in each kind of stratosphere. And what the bottom line of all these numbers is, Bobby, is that significantly more of Allen's EPA came in low win probability situations than Lamar's did. So if anybody last year was getting more garbage time stats, these EPA numbers show it was Allen over Lamar. How about this other Ravens fan who looked at other blowout wins? How about last year? 35-10, the Ravens beat the Buffalo Bills. Lamar left in the fourth quarter with almost 9 minutes left. 41-31 versus Tampa Bay last year. Lamar left with 7 minutes left. 41-10 versus Denver. Lamar left with 13 minutes. 35-14 versus Giants. Lamar left with 11 minutes left. 34-17 versus the Steelers. Lamar leaves with 8 minutes left. 31-2 versus the Texans, left with almost 12 minutes left. 35-10 versus Browns. Lamar gets taken out with 8 minutes left. Like, this is so ridiculous. It happens one game that he stays in, which we all were calling for because of week 1. And Bills know better than anybody why the Ravens did it. And so I think that Michael F. Florio, not to be confused with the other Mike Florio, I think is just giving superficial analysis that makes no sense, especially when you're looking at 33 dropbacks to 30 and all this data that dates back to last year.
I'm glad you reiterated that this is not Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk, because I already see people in the live chat, Sarah, dragging him. It's not Mike Florio.
Florio for Pro Football Talk.
There is no relation between the two, but man, there is a correlation, let's call it, in terms of where Lamar is in year 8 and what the numbers to show for it as the evolution. Man, look at this. Jordan Schultz tallied it all up in his last 20 games. Lamar is just dicing it up and not stat padding, but adding ridiculous statistics to his resume. 367 completions out of 543 attempts through the air over the last 20 games, over 4,900 passing yards, over 1,000 rushing yards, 57 touchdowns. This is where it gets insane. Still, just 4 interceptions in his last 20 games. That's a passer rating of 125.1. And Sarah, I think maybe the best indication of Lamar not being a stat padder maybe came on Sunday. He could have easily, and maybe not easily is the right word upon further review. I know you brought up one of the all 22 clips during yesterday's show, and I had said, hey, that 4th and 2 where he found a streaking Devontae Walker in the back of the end zone, that looked like he could have run it in. And I don't think it would have been like a routine run in. Like, he wouldn't have been untouched, let's be clear. He would have had to use his forward momentum, some of that lateral quickness, and just his sheer strength to reach the end zone. But there are so many times where Lamar liked that play, instead decides to divvy it up and be the point guard that this team needs and that this team has flourished with in the regular season over the last several years, that he's been on this tear. And this 20-game tear right here, as Jordan notes, is pretty darn special.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, whether he ran it in or threw it in, it would have been a touchdown on his I guess, stat sheet or whatever. But this is insane. 57 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. That's crazy. 32 touchdown passes with 10 plus air yards. Woo, woo, man. Okay, and we've already gone over this.
Clear,
yeah.
Just to be clear on that comment versus the throw versus the air, right? You're
throw
right.
Versus the ground. Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, right. Passing touchdown versus rushing touchdown. The only reason why I said it that way was because you got to go back to last year with Josh and Lamar, right? And everybody was like, well, look at what Lamar's done on the ground rushing touchdown production wise.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, but look at what James Cook did for Josh Allen. And look at what Derrick Henry's doing. Remember that whole devaluing that some of the Bills fan base was doing of James Cook in the Pro Bowl caliber season that he had. I mean, both of these guys are surrounded by talent. And it's a darn shame that a lot of this conversation tends to be struck by people like Michael F. Florio, who I don't even know why you would revisit that 2 weeks into this season. There's been many other more interesting storylines 2 weeks in than stat padding for Lamar, or at least the accusation that he's stat padding.
And it is funny how last year it was Lamar's on MVP. He has Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry gets shut down, so Lamar takes over. What? Lamar stat padding? Whatever. Here's the thing. Here's the world we're going to live in. And I hope that John Harbaugh and Todd Monken keep this up. Here's the world we're going to live in. When the Ravens have a 7-point lead, a 10-point lead, a 15-point lead, we do not care. We are going to keep scoring touchdowns. That's the world we want to live in. And if you feel disrespected, that's a you problem. The Ravens don't have a defense right now that they can count on to maintain leads. They do not want to take the football or take the foot off the gas. We do not care if you feel disrespected. This is the way the Ravens need to win football. It's with their offense, and they have to keep going until they feel safe. And in Baltimore, as we've learned, almost no lead is safe.
That's true. We'll see if it rears its ugly head against a high-powered Detroit offense. I know you're going to go to some all-time numbers in terms of where Lamar ranks in just a second here, but I thought this would be a decent segue while we're on the topic of supporting cast. Because what if I told you that the Ravens have posted back-to-back 40 pieces? Yes, one in a loss that was a collapse, like we mentioned, in Buffalo. But they're 1-1. This offense is clicking. Yes, they got some help from special teams on Sunday against the Browns. Yes, they got help from Tavius Robinson and Roquan Smith. But Sarah, they're 2 leading touchdown getters last year from a receiving standpoint. Mark had 11. Rashad had 9. We know that Mark had a slow statistical start after the car accident last summer and everything else that he was dealing with to begin last season. And I have no doubt that these guys, it's only a matter of time until they get going. But back-to-back 40 pieces with these twos having a combined 6 receptions for 32 yards on 12 targets with no touchdowns. Todd Monken, he got the hardest job in the league, Sarah, but it might be the best job because while you got to keep everybody happy, there is an embarrassment of riches, and they're showing why easily, almost effortlessly, especially like a game on Sunday where you had the first half the way that you did, and your run game, like you've already mentioned a couple times today, is so limited and coming at a premium, and you still hang 40 on Cleveland. It's a fun time to be offensive-minded in Baltimore, and obviously the other 2 phases got to catch up, especially coming up on this Detroit game because they just hung 52 last weekend on Chicago.
I don't want to be a spoiler alert, but Eric Hill just hung some crazy stuff in the super chats. We'll get there in just a minute.
Because he was excited about the lack of...
I cannot believe what he just did.
Are you serious?
I cannot believe what he just did. I'll just say it. He just gifted 50 memberships on top of a 50 super chat.
Your reaction actually scared me for a second. I thought like something was going on. We're going to give him a couple once we get to super chats, but just because you made me aware of it now, and Tilly appears to have one eye open as she naps on the couch. Sarah, Bill Raftery, I think, is what I'm modeling my Ma the Meatloafs off these days. Bill is a college basketball.
My prophet just smashed him. What is happening?
I just, when a live stream goes off the rails, I'm thinking I'm setting you up perfectly for what we're about to talk about here with the passer rating and the rushing yards all time in terms of where Lamar stacks up. And then Eric Hill just starts dropping bombs on the show. Just bombs.
PHP just mashed him, bro. With 50 himself. Okay, we're coming to these guys in just a minute. Guys, let me finish the segment.
I mean, is it really out of excitement that Bate and Andrews haven't yet gotten going, that they're that excited where they're just dropping in 50 spots here, and you get a 50 spot, and you get a 50 spot, and you get a 50 spot? We're coming back to you, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
We just got 100 new VAULTRON memberships here. I can't hold it together. They want me to hold it together. All right, I'll try to hold it together.
You ain't holding jack together. You got that?
I feel like, woo, now we've got some stat padding going on in here. Here we go with memberships. I love these guys.
Touché.
Anywho, we mentioned this yesterday. Obviously, just want to reiterate, Lamar Jackson has the NFL passer rating. He's the leader in all-time passer rating. Look at this. Look at the guys he's ahead. Aaron Rodgers.
I can't look at it.
My gosh. What is happening in this world?
I can't look at it. I can't. You're telling me to look at it, but I can't, and nobody can, because I just saw a live chat say, I thought the chat was glitching. We all do. We all think the chat is glitching because there's a stupid amount of generosity that's going on in this live chat right now, and Eric and PHP are going at it right now in the best of ways. You guys are incredible. Best community that I have ever been a part of. I think that is not hyperbolic at all. Sarah, we are so lucky to be surrounded by such generous people.
And PHP just matched that one. PHP and Eric Hill have both given 100. And you know what? They're just trying to derail this whole thing, and I'm here for it. They have each given 100 memberships. Everybody's green, basically, at this point.
No.
And if you have not gotten a membership, I do think you have to turn on that you're willing to accept a membership for some of you that may be asking. So we just got 200 new VAULTRON members in the last 3 minutes.
And I'll just quickly check our membership count because they're about to vault us, pun intended, north of 1,000. We started the show at 945. So 945 channel members, and these guys... Maybe we already are over. We'll see if it populates in the next few minutes. But you guys are incredible to the point where sometimes we don't even know how to react because there's just this. And I do mean that sincerely. Like sometimes we have no idea how to react to this from time to time because it's so not expected. It's so above and beyond. And you want to give it the attention that it deserves, Sarah. But there are times where sincerely, I just don't know what to say because it's just. It's so gratifying. It's just so overwhelming at times that you guys are incredible. Thank you for being part of this community.
Thank you so much. And we're going to come back around and give you guys more love as soon as we finish this Lamar Jackson segment.
I don't even know what to say.
We see you two in there giving memberships away, another 10 there. Okay. We're going to refocus. We got this. We can finish this. We only need like 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes here. Okay. Lamar Jackson leads in NFL history. He has the best NFL passer rating ahead of Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Russell Wilson. He also has the most rushing yards by a quarterback in NFL history. He's up over Michael Vick, Cam Newton, again, Russell Wilson, and the chat, Randall Cunningham. And Lamar's not even close to retiring. Not even close to retiring. The only guy who hasn't yet is Russell Wilson. Lamar is going to run away with that stat. Meanwhile, not only is he one of the greatest in NFL history, but his head coach gave him some massive props that we've all kind of known before, but we saw it some more. I think you just took it off the screen, the quote that I was about to read.
That was Mike Green related, so I'm trying to find it
Oh,
for you.
did I get the wrong one?
I got you. Keep going.
You got me. So anyway, here it is. Thank you, Bobby.
Why would I ever abandon you and put you on Sarah Island? Go ahead.
No. What you are is you always got my back. You were trying to cover me here. Okay. John Harbaugh was asked about Lamar and how just good he is. And he kind of put in perspective. He said, listen, it was a tough game yesterday against a really great defense. And that Browns defense is great. Like the defensive line, the whole front seven, put those linebackers in there. And then even the corners and the safeties were flying to Derrick Henry when they try to test the edges. Like that whole defense was really good. And listen, I do think the Ravens offensive line gets way too much props in the national media, but I also feel like the Ravens offensive line is at least average. But this defensive line was absolutely bullying them in the trenches. Okay. So he's correct when he says that's really good defense. He says it was really tough sledding, yet Lamar kept pressing. And then here comes the money quote. A couple times there were some plays that were really in trouble and he bailed them out. 3 plays, he made something out of absolutely nothing, John Harbaugh said, and made a bad play into a great play with the help of his teammates. That's Lamar. That's the thing about Lamar that really makes him another level of a player. Bobby, we've got a still image on here where he made something out of absolutely nothing, where he's stiff arming the defensive tackle number 96, and he found Zay Flowers on 3rd and 13. How about the one to DeAndre Hopkins, the first one that they called down at the half-yard line? Lamar was absolutely scrambling through that, launched it on the run. There were several more. He absolutely bailed the Ravens out because the run game was not happening. So though that great defense could pin their ears back and try to feast on Lamar, and he didn't allow it to the point where they couldn't win the game. And in fact, now today, people are accusing him of stat padding against this defense. This defense right here, he was so good that bring on the stat padding accusations because that's how good he is against this top defense.
What a shot. 96, Sarah. Malik Collins joins a group. Man, it's a long list. Sam Hubbard comes to mind from last year in Cincinnati. There have been many others on the wrong end of a Lamar Jackson left-handed stiff arm that buys himself, in this case, just the split of a second to laser that dot to Zay Flowers like we discussed in some of our film breakdown yesterday. It's one of the aspects of Lamar's game, Sarah, that probably is underappreciated, if that's even possible to say. The way that he buys himself time and can still deliver an accurate, on-time ball is one of the more sensational things that we get to watch on a weekly basis for 5 or 6 months out of the year. So well done there. Probably a good place to quickly transition. You have one more nugget before we do?
Shedeur Sanders, real quick. John Harbaugh and Shedeur Sanders, just because we got the news over the weekend from Adam Schefter that the Ravens were going to draft Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round. But they got word that Shedeur Sanders didn't want to play behind Lamar Jackson. Media asked John Harbaugh if it's true. Did you guys want to draft Shedeur Sanders? Here's his reply.
This report comes out that Shedeur Sanders said he didn't want to go to the Ravens because he didn't want to have to back up Lamar Jackson. Did you guys have any legitimate interest in him, or we can't?
You're asking me.
We can't ask Eric, so.
Oh, that's a good way to frame it. But so you think that I'm going to answer draft process questions? Yeah, I was in the room. But we have a policy here that we don't talk about the draft room decision-making process. So I'm not going to be able to answer that for you. As much as I may like to or may not want to, I'm not going to be able to answer that for you.
Okay, I think we can end it.
And that's the way you end that press conference yesterday. Yeah, you guys heard him. He wasn't going to touch this with a 10-foot pole, but credit Jerry Coleman for asking. Quote, we have a policy here that we don't talk about the draft room decision-making process. As you heard Harbaugh say himself, I'm not going to be able to answer that for you as much as I may like to or may not want to. Had a smirk on his face there, Sarah. This has been talked about a lot since Adam Schefter broke the news on Sunday, NFL Countdown, and I believe you had listened to what Cam Newton reacted as well, right?
Yeah, and I don't have the video, but I did watch that this morning, and First Take kind of debated this, and I think that they were correct. They were saying it's not crazy what Shador's sentiment was, which is Lamar Jackson's going to be the starter in Baltimore for the next decade. And so he knew he wasn't going to be able to start. That being said, we've already had this debate. We don't need to go into it again. You're in the 5th round. You've fallen much further than you thought you were going to be. Kind of at that point, like you should be like, oh, good, a great organization like the Ravens want me. But what I especially like from Cam Newton is just him saying that in addition to just learning football stuff behind Lamar, Cam said, if I'm Shador, you ideally want to learn behind a guy like Lamar Jackson because Lamar Jackson is a superstar, because Lamar Jackson is used to the media headlines, because Lamar Jackson is used to the criticism. And then Cam Newton made the point that Lamar Jackson is nothing but a phenomenal face of the Ravens franchise. Lamar doesn't get in trouble. Lamar doesn't go and do crazy stuff on the weekends. Lamar is a family guy. He loves his mom. He loves his baby daughter. He likes to take naps and he likes to stay in Florida. He's a homebody, and I'm going to show a funny clip later on where he did an interview with Sunday Conversations, which is a comedy thing. Most of the pictures online of Lamar is just hanging out at gas stations, not really, just minding his own business, not really looking to get into any trouble. And so Cam Newton made a point that that's not only a good football person to learn behind, but somebody who's a superstar and understands the attention that the Sanders family has and could have been another model in that way to Shador. So, but what's done is done. He made his decision. He's with the Browns. I think personally, it probably would have been better in the long run with the Ravens, but I don't think he's crazy for wanting to compete elsewhere. I just think it would have been a better decision in the long run. And I thought Cam Newton made a good point.
Guys, this episode is brought to you by our friends at Primary Residential Mortgage. And Sarah and I have told you in the last week or so about a special that they have for you this month of September to kick off football season. Sarah, I just checked in terms of entries going into today. 31 folks have entered themselves in so far through the Instagram post on Primary Residential Mortgage's account for that $100 giveaway that we're doing, the $100 Fanatics gift card to Baltimore's team store. So if you guys haven't already done so, please consider that by clicking on the link that we have included in a bunch of different places. There's information on it streaming on the ticker on the bottom line of the screen right now. If you're in the audio only space, you'll find something in the show notes, the direct link that you need. And if you're on YouTube right now or in the Twitter space, Twitter, you have to come on over to YouTube, but in the live chat as a pinned comment, there's instruction links and also at the top of the show notes. So basically, all we're asking and all Primary is asking from you, if you want to enter in to be eligible, is comment on the post. Go to Primary Residential Mortgage, PRMI Mid-Atlantic to be exact on Instagram, which we have linked for you. So all you got to do is click it. Comment on the post with the hashtag Vault. Tell us what your dream home looks like. And you could see that, Sarah, since we last done an episode, look at everybody. Like, my dream home is a 4-bedroom rancher with that, has a large backyard with enough running room for my pup. Jimbo says, my wife and I have always wanted to have a beach house, somewhere to get away from life. LOL. Modern Texas style with a little touch of Arizona. Okay. I mean, you can go on and on and on. People are getting into the nitty-gritty detail, which I love. Trying to see if I recognize anybody from our daily chat. It seems like there's a lot of new names in here, which is cool.
Well, what's your dream home, Bobby? If you were to write this in here for PRMI, would you be like a beach house? Would you be in the mountains? What would be a rancher like that person said? What would you be?
Lake house, probably.
Lake house.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with you on that.
Yeah, I'm a big lake guy. I mean, you know my family background growing up in the Cooperstown, New York area, and still being fortunate to have a very modest, small family cottage on Otsego Lake. I'd probably go in that direction. You too?
Lake house with mountains nearby is what I would do, because then you still got water, and it's way easier to water ski and do water sports than it is in the ocean. and the ocean waves can sometimes make you sick, but you also have the mountains to like go skiing or sledding for the kids or zip lining or hiking or any of that. So I would be a lake house in the mountains.
Let me be clear. Beach house, lake house, or mountain house. I'm taking any one of them when it's all said and done.
We're just talking dream world here.
But if you got my back up against the wall, I'm going with the lake house.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue going with PRMI. I'm thrilled to be partnering up with them this football season, shifting that partnership from Bobby Baltimore to the Vault. And we would love for you guys to support them again, simply by adding yourself in if you're interested to this giveaway. Comment on the post with the hashtag Vault. Let them know what your dream home looks like. Follow them to be eligible on Instagram. You can subscribe to the Vault on YouTube. Maybe you already do. We hope you already do. And then don't forget to scan the QR code or just click the link, the Google form link that they have in that caption. All of this will allow you to be contacted if you're the winner, which is going to be announced in late September. And again, if you want to start your home buying process, that's a whole nother story. We do have a link included there as well, which will bring you to our new landing page where you can get in touch with the folks. They're based out of Towson. You do not need to be, let me be clear, you do not need to be in the Maryland area to work with Primary Residential Mortgage, okay? They work with folks all across the country. You can easily contact them by filling out these little instructions right here. You can press apply now. That'll bring you to the application. It's super simple. There we are, looking pretty darn good, if I must say so myself. All of our links right here added in accordingly. And again, I just want to say thanks to Primary. Whether you're buying your first home, looking to expand as your family grows, or want to simplify now that you've retired, the PRMI team will help you find the right financing options for you. And they can also help you access your home equity or save money through refinancing. Whatever your home financing needs are, they are here to help. And we appreciate them for that support. Thank you, PRMI. Thanks to all of you. Coming up on that 3,000 concurrent number, Sarah, let's kick things back off with where we began an hour and a half before the show. That's DHB Senior Douglas H. Brown checking in. Here's a super chat for you.
And Bobby, I hope you got some water nearby because you got a lot of Ma the Meatloafs coming, a lot of them. Douglas H. Brown Sr. says, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Sarah and Bobby, for everything you do. Big test coming up. Hope Harbaugh can get them motivated.
Thank you, DHB. Raven Truther, we see you, we hear you, we appreciate you. Danny G, a week from today, first game at the bank, LFG. Technically, that's 6 days from today, Danny. It's Monday night in Detroit. Looking forward to it. I'm going to be out there putting together all my travel itinerary. And Sarah, I will be at the Be More Around Town tailgate pregame show coming up on Monday night. Looking forward to partnering back up with Brian Snyder, who I know, you and I did a great summer campaign with, all things Baltimore tailgating and road trips. But Park Heights Profit is checking in. It's $19 and a cent. And he's got a response to your opening commentary.
He says, stat padding? Let them talk. Run it up every game. They hate 8 so much, and it makes my day. Drag some feathers across the Lions' manes this Monday. I am slightly fired up. Lot G incoming. #91. #no picks.
Hey, PHP, I do have to be clear with you. Now that I'm committed to Be More, I am going to be at 801 West Austin Street. I know you've been pushing Lot G for a while, but I got to go where I can actually go live and have a setup and whatnot. So maybe we can chat via email in terms of what your plans are pregame. I'd love to meet you. Winstones Chronicles says, good morning, Sarah and Bobby. I saw that Ray Lewis clip, and I was ready to get on the field myself. We got that coming up later on in the show. Appreciate you, Winstones, for the $20 super chat. Danny G, 23, adding on to what he already wrote a couple minutes ago, Sarah.
First game at the bank Monday, trying to type off your phone is super weird on here. Lamar throws 76 times for 700 yards and really stat pad. LFG.
Tim Hughes is celebrating 4 months, and he writes, sorry, I haven't been seeing everyone live. I've been busy with my kiddos' football. Much love to all of you, and still say 15-2 on the screen. Tim, hope football season's going well. Are you coaching? Definitely curious. Coaching, spectating, where are you at? John R. with a super sticker. Thanks for being here, John. And PHP is back with a $10 super chat.
Like someone said in the chat, he says, this is engagement farming, either paying rent this month or lonely in the basement with mom out with her new boyfriend. Say Lamar's name and get motion. Rinse, repeat, yawn.
PHP still on top of that Michael Florio, meaning Michael F. Florio, not in relation, not related to Mike Florio from our opening topic. OJ writes, where's the smoke for Jared Goff then? Terry G has become our newest channel member here inside the vault. Thank you, Terry. And thanks to Eric Hill for passing the meatloaf. He says, good afternoon, everyone. Hope all is well. If no one tells you today they love you, just know that I do. Hashtag 6K for LJ. Hashtag Suicide Awareness Month. Hashtag Stop the 22. Hashtag VAULTRONs. Hashtag the Vault. And I'll add on, hashtag myself. Thank you, Eric. You are the man. We got a lot coming up. And the reason why I added in that extra hashtag is because he just followed up his $50 super chat, as we learned about 10, 15, 20 minutes ago, with a $50 spot. 50 new channel Vaultrons. E-Dub inspiring the Vaultrons today, Sarah. That brings us to Dreams, a.k.a. Queon, for you.
He says, wait a minute. The same Josh Allen that played a snap just to keep his consecutive games played streak going in week 18 last season?
He did
Which
do that.
I don't hate Josh Allen for that. This is not any hate to Josh Allen. It's all the surrounding people talking about it and pitting him against each other when they're not even playing each other, and the MVP conversation hasn't even started.
Queon, he doesn't have a short memory, baby. He remembers. Kobe Pruitt sounds like there is a winner in the will linebacker, meaning weak side linebacker competition. Bobby's and my guy. Teddy is the new starter. Teddy got 60 snaps, and Trenton got 15. Sarah, you had a tweet on this yesterday. Doubt they changed that after the performance of the defense. And KB, you got to think there's a correlation between, and we'll get into it more when we talk Roquan, but that dude was playing freely. That dude was playing ferociously and successfully, coming off perhaps what was his career game as a Raven against the Browns. Well said, KB. And Sarah, you got any reaction to a 50 spot in reaction, or I should say in response to Eric getting us going? What do you got for us over there in the meatloaf department?
I think, you want me to do one? I think I kind of already gave a reaction when I saw it come in, but my mic always gives out, so I have to give a Mom Meatloaf small one so that it doesn't.
By the way,
out.
what's your listening experience when I go like this and I'm hammering Ma the Meatloaf?
It's fine for me, but I'm excited. I'm pumped up. I don't know what it is for everybody else. Now that
DJ
one's in there.
DJ Spectacular. Not bad for a running back. What's going on, DJ? Parkite says, for you, Eric, love your words and energy every day, bro. And we certainly echo those sentiments. And it's a 50 spot on top of the 50 spot on top of the $50 super chat. Eric continues to be an unbelievable blessing for us inside this channel. And because of Eric's generosity, Sarah, on top of this, not only has he done today, right? But he's given away 2 lower bowl tickets.
That's right.
And we're going to do a giveaway because he's asked us. It's his request coming up later this week. We'll have to figure out when, maybe Friday. And on top of that, maybe we do a fun Purple Friday giveaway for the vault as well in terms of the merch, because these guys are unbelievable. The outpouring of love, support, and generosity is it really, you do get to a point where I don't even know how to react to it. I think, Sarah, you can attest to that. We don't know how to truly, properly react to this kind of love. So thank you. Hayes09 for you.
Hey, Bobby and Sarah, upcoming week 3 against the Lions, we have to keep scoring on them all 4 quarters. Opponents like them, don't ever give them a chance. Amen. And they just hung up 50. So here we go.
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about my prediction for later this week. This is going to be a tough one. Samuel McDougald says, I get so elated when I see you guys get so happy. We appreciate that, Sam. You're about to become even more infinitely elated because Parkite's profit has dropped in a 50. It's
a $250. Let's be clear.
Yeah. You lose the ability to talk because you want to give it, you want to justify it, right? It's hard to justify this type of outpouring of love. PHP drops in a 50 spot. Douglas H. Brown Sr. followed with a 10 spot. And then Dreams came in with more commentary on Lamar for you.
So was Lamar Jackson supposed to sit in the 4th quarter of the Bills game, being up 15, the same team that blew a 35-14 lead to the Dolphins years ago? No, Dreams, he was not. But Bills fans would like that, sure.
He's pulling out all the stops, right? All of his receipts in response to the Florio content at the beginning of the show. Winstone's Chronicles, man, we're not going to throw this under the rug because of all the other gifts. Winstones adds himself into the bucket of generosity today. He drops in a $49.99. That's a magenta. He writes, might as well join the party and might as well have Bobby lose every single vocal cord that he's ever existed and wanted and desired for. Because we got another 50 on deck. Winstones are unbelievable. Mike letting everybody know, Sarah, nicely, that in account settings, you have to select the option to receive gift memberships for those of you that are struggling to do so. David Smith says, funny that it's only stat padding when Lamar does it, and Lewis, Sarah, who's rocking his vault gear as he always does, drops in a super chat.
Says lots of love going around, all for the best podcast east of the Mississippi. What about west of the Mississippi? Also, PHP, what time are we meeting you in Lot G? Let us know what we can bring. Listen to this. This feels like it is a community. This is like what I do with my friends when we get together. Hey, what food can I bring? You bring, the dessert. I'll bring the savory stuff. It's just like all love in here today.
I don't know what we did to deserve this kind of community, Sarah, but every day it is not lost on us every single day. And I'm talking in season, off weeks, all that. You guys are really a joy, a total joy. A FIA or a FIA? What do we think?
I would say a FIA.
A FIA.
But I've steered you wrong before.
Figured I'd join in on the fun. Happy I found this community. Much love to you all. Sarah, your analysis is always on point. I love coming across women analysts in sports who know their ish. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Afia, for the $20 super chat. Partner, nice compliment. Back that up for you as well. You're the best.
Very nice of her, and I appreciate her editing it for me, too.
Heck yeah.
Ish.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, I didn't even catch that because I was looking ahead. I'm sorry, Afia. I was looking ahead because Eric is just dumping. It's just like pouring down $50 super chats
Wait,
today.
she also said this. First way is correct, Afia. There we go.
Okay, cool. All right, so you didn't steer me in the wrong direction on that one.
Finally got one right. Woo! Chalk it up on the board.
Eric Hill coming in with a $50 super chat. Why don't you take it?
He says, well, then let's start stat pad then. I'm here for it. 6,000 passing yards and 1,000 rushing yards for Lamar Jackson. Anyway, PH2P, I see you. Hey, DHB Senior, Tila, Queen of the Chat, Zhang, Dwiz, Dreams, Olu, Ashley, Heather, Afia, Minx the Cutie, PHP, Touche. Naming some of all the OGs and most active people in the chat.
This guy's incredible. Happy birthday to Lou Roca. Says it's his birthday. He's just sitting here today watching the vault at home. Lou, happy birthday. And Eric, you are unbelievably supportive of this program. God King, who of course won one of our giveaways recently.
Boy, and it was on his birthday, right? Or close to his birthday?
Yeah, I think it was on his birthday. And boy, I love God King, but man, did he have 20 questions for me in the email thread? Bro, send me what you want from homage, huh? Just kidding, God King. He says the defense, Burrow with Higgins and Chase, should have lost to Lamar. Hold on a second here.
The defense, Burrow with Higgins and Chase.
Should have lost to Lamar, hangs 40 on. With Andrews, no-show king, none factor, and no likely. What does that tell you? I have no idea what you're trying to say, guys. Keep things going. Help us out. Let us know, even if it is just you don't have to write another super chat to clarify, and we got to keep things moving. We can't decipher hieroglyphics. We love you. Thank you. And congrats on winning the homage giveaway. Jay, wait a second. What is COP? And we just got $10,000 in COP. You read this. I'm going to go look that up.
We got 10,000 COPs, to be clear. We don't know what that is. Okay. Can someone verify that Shedeur Sanders... Can someone verify that Shedeur Sanders story? Ravens has said nothing, and Sanders said he has never heard of this story. Well, they tried to yesterday, right? John Harbaugh wouldn't reveal anything. He says we don't talk about the draft process. And so I think for now, while Adam Schefter doesn't get everything right, he does get a lot right.
Colombian pesos. Appreciate you, Jay. That converts over to $2.50 in US dollars. Appreciate you, Jay. Thanks for being here. Park Heights Prophet says Bobby blackout and betrayal. Boo, he's not happy. I never said I wouldn't show to Lot G, PHP, a.k.a. Anthony. I said, I got to go to Be More Around Town. I've been in talks with them this entire process for pregame coverage. And so I'm going to be at 801 West Austin Street on Monday night, Sarah, pregame. Let's talk, PHP, about what we can do. It's going to be a crazy day, but let's talk. Eric Hill writes, Bobby, I have some better energy drinks for you. Sarah, close your eyes. That gives you clean energy. Hashtag 19-1. Send them along, Eric.
Yeah, I have great energy drinks for you too. It's called Sleep and Exercise and Good Food.
Listen to her. You know this is coming. JL Green's in the house, Sarah, for you.
Says, hey, Bobby and Sarah, I share your sentiments, Sarah, regarding Shedeur Sanders choosing not to play for the Ravens. He says it's a shame.
Jonathan Moore says, what's your take on Keaton's situation? This one's addressed to you.
Keaton, this one's interesting to me. I mean, for sure, Todd Monken let us know that this was happening way back in, when did he say his comments? Was it during
Pre-camp?
Was it mini camp? We've been mini camp or something like that.
Just pre-camp, spring.
Pre-camp. But listen, I know Rasheen Ali it's not just because he's a kickoff returner. Like, I don't know, like if you look at him in coverage, and I think he's also a gunner. And so I think that's why he's beating Keaton out, because I think Keaton is for sure the better running back. He might even be the better kickoff returner. I think that they're looking at Ali as a coverage guy also. And so I would like to see Keaton. I think he is a victim of having Derrick Henry one in front of him, and then Justice Hill, who's really good on third downs and is really good at pass protection for Lamar. And so I would love to see Keaton, and I wish that they would just expand the roster. Why does it have to be 53? Why? Just let us have the guys that we have. Let us dress them, you know?
Don't look now.
So?
Slow start for Justice in terms of some of his pass pro or lack thereof. And then obviously had the ball security issue. What was that? Against the Bills, I believe that was. So slow start for Justice. We already mentioned the slow statistical starts for Rashad in terms of actual pass catching statistics. Slow starts for Bateman and Andrews. And yet again, this is a team that's hung 40 back-to-back weeks. Yes, with the help of teams and defense on Sunday against the Browns. But this is Todd Monken's job, right? This is up to Todd and Lamar. Well, Lamar can't help get Keaton active on game day, or at least I don't think he can.
Oh, I think he could. I think he could. If Lamar Jackson wanted Keaton out there, Keaton would be out there.
Okay, but you know what I mean. Maybe the door is open. Maybe the door is open for two players that have been inactive for the first 2 weeks, given what took place on Sunday. That's David Ajabo with KVN going down, and that's Keaton Mitchell with potentially Rasheen Ali still dealing with the aftermath of that concussion that bounced him from Sunday's game, literally from the jump. So those will be two things to look out for given the overall health situations. Thanks, Jonathan. D-Rod celebrating 6 months of channel membership. It's a big, long time, D-Rod. Love that Vault snapback as well. I got my shirt on right here. You guys see this? thevaultpod.com/shop. You know, Ray Dog never hit us up, by the way, Sarah. On Friday, we did our Purple Friday giveaway. Anything or a t-shirt of your choosing we gave out on Friday, and we never heard from Ray Dog. So we owe you a shirt, Ray Dog. Where you at? D-Rod says, using my free super chat to say, I love how he says free. He's a returning member, and he says, this is a free super chat. You're a paying member, bro. This is not free, but we appreciate you. He says, using my free super chat to say, shout out to Eric Hill and PHP and everyone who donates to this amazing channel. Been listening while on my Peloton. Hope you're having a great workout, D-Rod, and thank you for expressing that perfectly, because I know Sarah and I absolutely co-sign for sure. Eric Hill.
He says, PHP, I believe you and DHB Senior got me inspired trying to be like you.
That's awesome. And a new profile photo for Eric as well. He changes that thing every day. C. Brittle.
Several profiles so that he can keep donating. That's what I think is happening here.
Maybe. C. Brittle's in the house. What's going on, CB? Winstone's Chronicles has absolutely the ultimate plan to ensure that come Monday night in Baltimore, I can't do what I need to do, and that is talk. He says, I need you to lose your voice today. Forget Monday. Today, Bobby. Winstone Chronicles drops in from wherever you are, Winstones, a 50 burger and a $50 super chat. That's a magenta background for the win. FTW, Winstones Chronicles. Eric Hill for you.
Eric says, Sarah, it's a compromise with the energy drinks. I'm somewhat careful of what I put in my body. I'm just helping with an alternative. All right, Eric, I appreciate that. And I do believe that Eric the fireman has a more healthy option, maybe.
Thanks, Eric. Dream says Keaton was the first one out the locker room post-game. Didn't seem in good spirits at all, but I will be happy to see 90, meaning Ajabo, on the field come Monday. God King clarifying what he said earlier.
The Deaf Burrow should have lost. Maybe he means they, meaning the Browns?
Well, I think the defense Burrow should have lost to. LJ hung 40 on.
Oh, okay. The defense, yes, meaning, okay, so he's trying to prove the point that the Browns defense is really good. And LJ hung 40, sort of 34 because of the Roquan's return for a touchdown. But to his point, he makes an excellent point that the Browns really slowed down Burrow. They had to get bailed out at the end to win it, for sure, by the refs.
Thanks, God King. Mark KD VAULTRON celebrating. Oh, that's cool. Mark KD looks like he updated his name here, celebrating 4 months of channel membership. Let's go, Raven Nation. Let's keep scoring and don't let the other team respond every game. Shout out to Bobby and Sarah. Love the content and analysis. We love you, Mark KD. Thank you. And Ross Baltimore brings us to the end of this opening round of Super Chat. Sarah, he's celebrating 2 months of channel membership with us, and he is representing West Side Baltimore, and that's in the house. Ross, welcome. Glad you're here. Thank you for the support of this channel. You guys are incredible. Unbelievable tangent. We have a lot more football content to get to, including press conference notes from yesterday, Sarah, injury updates, Roquan Smith and Ray Lewis sharing a pregame moment before Rowe ended up having a career game, and quick hits. So we better get going. Thank you guys for being here. Please like the video on your way in if you could. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership, and you can go find a piece of Vault merch right now at thevaultpod.com/shop, like this t-shirt in a bunch of different colors, logos, so on and so forth. To press conference notes we go?
Let's rip through them. All
right. Why don't we begin with the first injury situation that sort of came down at the end of yesterday's show? Is that cool?
Yep.
From a chronological standpoint, obviously Kyle Van Noy is dealing with what Jeremy Fowler referred to as a hamstring setback. So first and foremost, here is John Harbaugh, obviously not wanting to comment on a ton of the injuries specifically yesterday, but here he is. And then, of course, naturally, the conversation goes towards the young gun, Mike Green, Sarah, who, if KVN indeed, as Jeremy's reported, is set to miss multiple weeks. That's going to mean an opportunity for not just Mike, Adafe, the rest of that outside linebacker crew to step up. Here's Harbaugh yesterday.
Yeah, I really, nothing. I can tell you the update probably that I probably want to give, Bo, just would be that there's nothing season ending or long term. You know, everything else is either day to day. Something might stretch into a week to week, but there's really no advantage in us in sharing that information today for our opponent, so probably stay away from it.
John Van Noy leaving early, it was an opportunity for some other guys to play more. Mike Green upped his snap count. What are you seeing from him, not just yesterday, but just in his development? You know, now knowing whether Van Noy is going to be available.
Well, I think he and I, you put Malachi kind of in that category as well. Young rookie players made another step, in this game. I think he tightened it up a little bit with some of his angles on his pass rushes and his run defense. Very physical off the edge, both of those, a few times. Yet still, like rookies, there's a ways to go. But keep making the same kind of progress every single week, and I'm happy with the way Mike's playing. I mean, he's playing good football for us, and just got to keep growing as a player, as a young player.
Okay, Sarah. So nothing again in terms of timetables, but from an injury standpoint, that is. But no season enders out there. We'll have Jair and Pat Ricard coverage in the coming moments. But a step taken by Mike Green. Yes, he's a rookie. Yes, he's got to continue working. But Sarah, if you look at all the rookies from an outside linebacker standpoint, defensive players, you go look at the pressure count from week 2. Abdul Carter and a couple others were in that 4 category, which led the way for first-year defensive players from this year's class. Mike Green found himself at 3 pressures. So you had a photo there. He almost wrapped up Joe Flacco for his first career sack. Joe got away, or Joe threw the ball. He didn't get it away from much on Sunday, but he did get the ball out of his hands just in time so that it didn't go down on the stat sheet for Mike's first sack. But he's getting there. He's getting there.
Yeah, and I think Harbaugh makes a great point. Like, look, it's week 2. He already played 45 snaps with KVN going down. And so, but it's not like he was like effusive, because there is some growth there. And he put all the rookies. He felt like Teddy Bridgewater. He felt like Malachi Starks, and then Mike Green, Teddy Buchanan. And so all 3 of them, he felt like, yeah, like we have them in there. So like they're happy with them, but there's still progress. And then you kind of compared Mike to the other kind of rookie pass rushers, which is towards the top. That being said, when he's graded against the other Ravens, which is full of like more veteran stars, Mike Green is one of the lowest graded Ravens on defense. I'm trying to see if I can make this bigger because the chat is covering it up for me. Can we make this a little bit bigger? Let's see here. This one. There we go. And so you can see that only Reuben Lowry and Broderick Washington scored less. Now, and Malachi Starks is only 2 above him. Now, of course, they had a ton of snaps that they were playing with. So, but Malachi Starks had a 57.8 grade, Mike Green a 50.5. So as good as they played and with the pressure that they had, there's still some learning curves, and we're okay with that. Where they are right now in week 2 of their rookie seasons, we're good with it. Meanwhile, people are pointing out that Trenton Simpson is the second highest graded defensive player, but we also have to keep in context, he only had 15 snaps. So when you have so few snaps, you can either be one of the worst or one of the best very easily, because it doesn't kind of even out over the averages. So my guess is that they'll still continue forward with somebody like, let me see where Teddy Buchanan is on this. Where is he graded? Teddy Buchanan's number 15, whereas Trenton Simpson's number 2, right? But Teddy Buchanan had 60 snaps to Trenton Simpson's 15. So that was just in week 2. But I think overall we can see with their eyes the progress and the promise that all these rookies have. And so I don't know, unless there's like a different game situation they want Trenton Simpson more in on, it seems like these 3 rookies, Teddy, Malachi, and Mike, are all going to keep trending up with both snaps and quality of play.
Sarah, Mike Green caught up after the game with Karita Parks, Bowie TV, and it was unclear at the time what Kyle's timetable would be, right? We didn't know about the Jeremy Fowler report there, the scoop on, the multiple week setback that Kyle is dealing with. But this is what Mike had to say about the potential of a heavier workload heading in his direction in the coming weeks with his teammate going down.
Expected to be ready. You're expected to go. So yeah.
How ready do you feel if you're kind of carrying a heavier load here for a little bit?
Yeah. I feel like I'm prepared enough. Of course, there's going to be some things got to tweak and get better at, of course. But I think I'm ready, and I feel like I can compete at this level. So yeah. So we'll be ready for the next game as well, and just take it step by a time.
Sarah, I got to wonder if he's just at that point, maybe that Malachi was at one point in the summer, right, where John Harbaugh kind of claimed that he's not making those splash plays yet. Remember that comment? It was like, hey, he's just kind of getting acclimated, processing the game, learning the terminology, understanding how we do things here at the pro level. Not that he wasn't ready as a pro coming from Georgia and a national championship pedigree and everything that he came in with, as to use Chuck Smith's words on Mike, a skilled up player. I mean, both of these players obviously skilled up. One of them led the FBS in sacks a year ago. We know who that is. I just wonder if maybe there's 2 weeks in, maybe a little bit, ever so slight amount of overthinking that's in the midst of processing that ultimately, hopefully, will translate to playmaking at some point in the near future that just requires a little bit of grace and patience as he gets fully acclimated at the NFL level.
Absolutely. And meanwhile, just some more from John Harbaugh's press conference. He was asked if he thought about challenging the near touchdown catch by Mark Andrews that was punched out. We've had discussions here inside the vault. And he said, he sighed. He wanted to challenge it. He had the red flag ready. But then he got word from upstairs. He's got guys up in their booth that are reviewing these and have a better view than John Harbaugh does oftentimes. And he said that the guys upstairs quote was, that was a hard don't challenge from the guys upstairs because they had a long time to look at it. They also knew that the decision was in from New York, and New York had already decided that it wasn't going to get overturned. And so John Harbaugh said it was explained to him that there was no quote unquote third act for Mark Andrews. He said in the end zone, there was no football act at all, and the ball got knocked out. That's what was explained to me at the time. We were going to lose the challenge if we did it. So John Harbaugh was like, to me, he goes, sometimes there's a lot of subjectivity here. So to me, it's not always consistent. And he had seen 2 feet go down, but there was no third act. And so whether he disagreed with it or not, he knew he would lose the challenge and therefore lose a timeout. So he didn't go for it. I think that's fair from John Harbaugh.
As for DeAndre Hopkins, John was asked about playing time moving forward for the 33-year-old, been playing very, very good quality football, Sarah, in a small sample size. Obviously, they're going to be very mindful of his snap count, given not only what they have around Lamar as it is, but given his age, given the wear and tear on his body, but at the same time, pick their spots where he can really exploit some matchups like he does against a young corner, right, on Sunday against the Browns, just finding a way to create such a razor-thin amount of separation. He and Lamar already have that rapport. Not only does DeAndre have a highlight reel catch, multiple of them really, but the signature one on a Sunday night in Buffalo, but then he follows that up with 2 for 64, including a touchdown and a long of 41 right out of half in that third quarter, Sarah. John Harbaugh, it's a tough game to play when you're Todd and John and you're trying to essentially facilitate as much of a spreading of the ball as you can, given what you have at your disposal. Here is how John answered that question related to D-Hop.
As we go, I think some games, might be one way or another, but we have a lot of guys that can play and do different things. So it's not a bad thing to do it that way, but I'm sure that, every player wants to be on the field as much as they can. So the more DeAndre's on the field, I'm happy about that. But if we don't have to have him out there too much doing things that aren't like kind of difference-making things too, that kind of makes sense as well. And then you've got guys that can go out there and make plays, like you put Tez out there and he does some things and he changes it up on the defense. That's a nice thing too. And Tylen the same way. Of course, you already got Bate and Zay. They're going to play a lot of snaps. And you want to get the ball to the tight ends. That was just brought up. When are the tight ends going to get those chances? So those are all the things that we're kind of grappling with and trying to put together the offense for every week. And Todd and T and the offensive coaches all do a great job of that. So that's kind of a blessing, but it's also a dilemma, and we're working through it. But hopefully, it's a kind of dilemma that puts a lot of points on the board. That's what we're hoping for.
Like the end of that, right, Sarah?
Yeah, and it's all, Bobby, it becomes a real dilemma if you lose, right? But if your offense is putting up 40 points per game, and it doesn't even need to be that. If your offense is putting up 30 points per game and you're winning, then it's not a dilemma. It's only a dilemma when you're losing, and then people are like, put me out, put me out, put me out. I'll be the one to change the outcome. But right now, it's kind of one of those situations that it's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like that this guy can have 10 snaps and have 2 catches for 1 touchdown, almost another near touchdown, both 40+ yards. And he's an older veteran. And so it's like, if you do want to put him out more, maybe that becomes a thing closer to December and January. You know what I mean? And so it's like, he seems happy. He seems very happy. I don't know. I don't know what Bateman is feeling like right now, but he's out there a lot, just doesn't have a lot of production. And I think part of this also is like, you have to trust not only Todd Monken, but you have to trust Lamar Jackson, because some of those guys that were out there a lot, like Bateman or like Mark Andrews, they were out there a lot, but they have to trust that Lamar Jackson is making his reads and throwing the ball where he thinks they're going to have the most success. So right now, putting up 40 points per game, there's not a dilemma, and I don't know that you need to fix what's not broken. Are you frozen, Bobby? Bobby looks like he's frozen. I assume you guys can still hear me. It's Bobby that's frozen, not me. Meanwhile, if maybe Bobby will make it back in here in just a minute. But John Harbaugh, there he is. You back?
Sorry about that. I was just sitting here and went down to one bar, but I was listening to you the whole time.
Okay, okay, you got it. But anyway, it was kind of fun to listen to. They asked John Harbaugh, they were like, hey, everybody thinks of him as a special teams coach, which he was, but he was also a defensive backs coach. And John Harbaugh himself was a defensive back in college. And they're like, how would you coach your defensive back for DeAndre Hopkins on some of these catches that he made? And Harbaugh said, man, that young corner of the Browns was covering DeAndre as well as he could. I mean, he couldn't cover him any better. Yet Lamar puts the ball in a great spot. DeAndre makes a great catch. Why is DeAndre that good? Or why is DeAndre as good as he is? That's a question for the Lord, because he gave him that talent.
That's the John Harbaugh answer right there, if I've ever heard one. And just to reiterate, Bateman and Andrews, Sarah, through 2 weeks, they've tallied a combined 6 receptions for 32 yards, 12 targets, no touchdowns, and no Isaiah Likely on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, and no Pat Ricard, right? No Pat Ricard. So, and back-to-back 40 pieces, mind you. So this is going to be one of those things where hopefully, especially for these playmakers' sake, it is the type of like, hey, pick your poison type of day, and wherever the game plan goes, or whatever, in Sunday's case, whatever the opponent decides to potentially sell out to stop, like the run, then that'll just mean, hey, we're gonna differentiate, we're gonna delegate, we're gonna spread this thing around as much as we possibly can, and hey, it might be across the board. Zay Flowers off to a great start. Maybe he's the only receiver this year that hits that 1,000 yard category. And maybe you got, 500 for Bate and 600 for Andrews and, 400 or 500 for Likely. I mean, it's really going to be something to see how statistically this all shapes up, just because of how many guys need to eat. How about Jair Alexander, the last injury update from John Harbaugh that he gave yesterday? Of course, this is a healthy scratch, right? Coming off the healthy scratch decision, played 30% of the snaps in Buffalo. And then they said, hey, let's just get you right? Both Zach Orr, John Harbaugh both said that in the days leading up to this week 2 performance. And then John was asked, where do you go from here to get him right?
That's such a great question. I wish it was really black and white, but I think he'll be out there soon. It could be as early as this week. But it's going to be when he feels and you can see that he's right, to go out there and just play like a top level Jair. I don't want to put him in a situation where he's got to try to overcome not quite being, right as he can be, especially if we've got guys that can play well, So that's just kind of like almost a great problem to have, that you don't have to force a player out there, when he's kind of, he's a tough injury he had last year. And he's been rehabbing that thing in the offseason, rehabbing it now through training camp. He ended up rehabbing it for about 3-4 weeks in training camp with no practice. So that was probably the toughest part of it. If he had been able to, practice there, maybe that would have helped, but it wasn't quite there yet. It's good now though, and I don't know. We'll just see in the practice. He and I will talk about it, and we'll get him out there just as soon as we can. But I think it's going to be real soon, real much. It'll be much sooner rather than later, And I can't wait till he's out there, and maybe it'll be this week.
So it's a collaborative situation. I mean, it's collaborative. You and him.
Yes, me and him, and the performance stuff. You see the numbers, with the performance numbers and all those kind of things that we do, and that's it.
There you have it, Sarah. Any reaction to the way he handled that with Jair?
Yeah, it felt right. It felt like the correct decision in week 2, based off the results. It was probably the wrong decision in week 1. Maybe John Harbaugh let Jair get into his ear a little bit. And I remember you at the time saying maybe the Ravens need to protect him. And I said, sure. We just didn't know what he looked like at the time. And I was like, if he's 100%, yeah, I was like, if he's 100%, there's nothing to protect. But if he's less than 100%, then maybe there is something to protect. And then we saw he was less than 100%. And so I think John Harbaugh made the correct decision in week 2. And he said in there, he's like, it's going to be collaborative between us. We'll have some performance data. I'm sure they're going to see, hey, there's some benchmarks for Jair. Once you hit this with these different performance benchmarks, then you can be ready. But then John Harbaugh said, it's like, you'll know it when you see it. And we all do. We saw him in week 1. He wasn't ready. And so Chidobe Awuzie and TJ Tampa were ready in week 2. It was not as hard of an opponent as it was with Josh Allen versus Joe Flacco. And so the Ravens can afford to be patient here. depending on how Marlon Humphrey's doing, which we haven't had an update on him since he left the game early with the groin injury.
Sarah, if there's 3 players that I'm really going to be curious about Tuesday morning, a week from today, when the snap count comes out after Monday Night Football, it's TJ Tampa, it's Keaton Mitchell, assuming he's up for potentially Ali, depending on if he clears concussion protocol, and David Ajabo. Those are 3 players right there. I don't know how impactful they're going to be in this game, but their snap count's going to be really interesting to analyze in the days that follow. So shall we get caught up on Super Chats before we talk about Roquan and Ray?
Yep.
Ray Dog We Truz is giving us a little bit of context on why we haven't heard from him, being that he was on the winning end of our Purple Friday giveaway of the Vault merch last week. And he says, hey, Bobby, best to pass that T-shirt on to another lucky person in the Vault. I'll hold off on giving out my personal info right now. Appreciate it, though. We appreciate you. Thanks for celebrating 4 months of channel membership. And Sarah, looks like maybe we'll do 2 giveaways on Friday. We'll talk about that off the air in terms of how we want to handle that this week. Eric Hill is back, Sarah.
Roses are red, violets are blue. Lions then Monday night. Beat down is prepared for you. Respectfully, Silent Night.
What's he now? He's taking a page out of PHP's book with some of the poetry.
Yeah.
Juan, what's going on, Juan? Thanks for the super chat. And Sarah, this one was slipped in there while we were knee deep in content. How many channel memberships is EH Eric Hill up to on the day? At least 200, correct?
Well, I know that the total between Eric and PHP is 300, I think, between the two of them. I don't even know anymore. No. So 450, it might be 250 between the two of them. Not to mention the other gifts that have been given out, including from DHB Senior and others.
Well, I got news for everybody, including the 2 gentlemen who have been leading the charge today in memberships. Okay. 1,083, Sarah. It just populated. We are back up over 1,000 memberships inside the vault, and it's all thanks to you guys. Eric, thank you. And PHP, you guys are incredible. All of you who choose to donate and just simply show up, liking the video, subscribing, hitting that notification bell. And then on top of that is this tremendous amount of gift giving, this tremendous amount of support. None of it's expected. None of it is something that we're ever prepared for. And we just want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your continued generosity. Let's go double F. This one's for you.
He says, on the Humphrey tipped touchdown, just curious your thoughts on if OPI was missed there. Looked like Hamilton was straight tackled on that play. I'd have to go back and look at it. I don't recall an OPI there. But I also wasn't looking for one.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look as well. Nagasaki 20 is celebrating 2 months of channel membership. And Nagasaki writes, the offense has been rolling without 789, but Bate has had the CB1 on him, Benford and Ward. Who is Detroit's CB1? I see some shine coming for Bate, and we're going to take a close look at that as we start to turn a page, Sarah, later this week. For the Lions, it's Monday Night Football. Of course, we'll have a Detroit guest on for the Lions perspective later this week, and we'll go back to the film study, hopefully tomorrow inside the vault for those of you who enjoyed Jason Smith from Huddle It Up Films yesterday. And I will also say, Sarah, that we have been in touch with all 22. That's Derek Coleman from all 22 Ravens film analysis. And Derek will be joining us at some point in the near future. I know a lot of you guys have been calling for him over the years. We have reached out. We have touched base with him, and we're looking forward to bringing him on at some point. Park Heights Prophet says, just got an email from the Ravens for Super Bowl packages. Santa Clara is coming with a Lombardi will feed families. Hashtag 19-1. Hashtag no picks. Hashtag 40 points every week. Show Me Rose says, we're finally not force-feeding Mark. Our number 1 wide receiver is balling out. We have a real contested catch vet, and Tez is getting real reps. No complaints here. Show Me Rose a happy man. Eric Hill says, I'm going to behave now. Man, you have been misbehaving all show long, and boy, do we appreciate you when you are a bad boy, Eric Hill. You're the man. Thank you. And Sarah, I don't know what you're looking up, but I think it goes back to one of the super chats on Marlon.
Yeah, it's just to see if there was an OPI. Maybe on Kyle Hamilton, but he really wasn't like Kyle Hamilton gets kind of tackled on the play. So, but I think 44. I think they're both kind of diving, think it was going to make it there. It looked like Kyle Hamilton could have intercepted it, Bobby, but then Marlon came in out of nowhere to grab it, and so the offensive player was trying to play defense and bat the ball down. He's kind of got his arm around his waist. So they're both kind of diving for it, thinking the ball is going to go there, but then Marlon comes in. Okay. I think that'd be a tough call to make, but I see his point.
Double F, appreciate the super chat. Thanks for some of the pondering thoughts here, and thanks to all of you for being here. We got more content, guys. I hate to say it. We got more content. It's 1:30. It's going to be a 90-plus minute show. Thank you for being here. Over 3,300, that is, 3,300-plus concurrents and growing. If you could, on the way in, like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member, gift-giving membership. We appreciate you guys for being here, and it's time to talk about one past, one present middle linebacker. I'll turn the mic to you.
Well, who are the past and present linebackers? Does it even need to be said? Of course it does, because this is a podcast. We're talking about the great Ray Lewis, the two-time Super Bowl champion and Super Bowl MVP. And then we've got Roquan Smith. Roquan Smith, Agent Zero in the house, who just had one of his best games of his career. And I think I've got some numbers to back that up. But here's what's interesting, Bobby, what all of us did not know is before Roquan Smith went out there and put on a show, we have to remember that Ray Lewis was in the house for that 30th season anniversary. Ray Lewis had his gold jacket on, letting us know who he is. He was talking to so many different players. And then back in the huddle, back in the tunnel, right before the defense is about to be announced to come out, Ray Lewis is in Roquan Smith's ear with a message that I think Roquan took to heart.
Hunt. They hunt. Lead them to hunt, bro. 60 minutes this time. You understand? Finish this, man. They gonna follow your lead. They gonna follow your lead, right? We strong individually, but together we'll tell Pacific. Pull them together, bro.
Woo! Woo! And all for those that are just listening on audio, all Roquan can do is nod his head. He's just nodding the whole time. He's taking it all in. My favorite part, yes, hunters hunt. But what about this part? He says, if I can unmute it, could you unmute it for me?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were trying to talk over it. Yeah, I mean, there's so much going on. And look at Ozzy and Kyle in the background. I mean, this is awesome. But yeah, I'll go ahead and unmute it.
I just want to get how many minutes worth this time?
Lead them to hunt, bro. 60 minutes this time.
60 minutes this time. Because we know it's what we talked about at the top of the show when people are accusing of stat padding. It's because the Ravens cannot trust their defense, which shouldn't be the case when you have Roquan Smith and Kyle Hamilton and Marlon Humphrey. And we can go on and on with these names. Nnamdi Madubuike, all these guys getting paid. The Ravens should be able to maintain a lead. So when you have the great Ray Lewis coming up there and he says, listen, I know you're a hunter. I know that hunters hunt. You need to lead them because you are the leader of this defense, or at least one of them. It might become Kyle Hamilton sooner than later. Look at Ozzie Newsome in the background hugging Kyle Hamilton, another future leader. It has to be for 60 minutes this time. And Roquan Smith is soaking it all in, Bobby.
Yeah, this is a really cool clip on a number of levels. Clearly, everybody in the live chat's like, oh, yeah, did you hear that? He's digging at him. 60 minutes. He's getting after the fourth quarter performance. We know this was as constructive as it gets, as supportive as it gets from one great to a guy that hopefully one day, I know he has aspirations, Sarah, of being looked at as an all-time great as well. And he played like an all-time great, an all-time Raven performance, perhaps for him personally on Sunday. He was everywhere, 15 combined tackles. Of course, he scooped up Tavius Robinson's strip sack on Joe Flacco, Sarah, and took it 63 yards to the house. Roquan, aside from Myles Garrett, and a couple other Cleveland defenders too, you could probably make the argument, but he was, let's call him one of the best, he was the best defensive Raven, and he was one of the best defensive players on both sides of the ball on Sunday. 3 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hits, and most importantly, Sarah, and tip your cap to Teddy Buchanan, who has won this starting job, at least for the time being, over Trenton Simpson, a third-year player. A lot of people had high expectations on, but he was demoted last year, and he only recorded 15 defensive snaps, as we've already covered on Sunday against the Browns. He was playing freely, Roquan was. That probably was the most important part, and there's an absolute direct correlation between playing freely and having the type of game that he did. You could cut it loose. He was doing that, Sarah. He was thumping around. He was chasing after Joe Flacco. He was in that mode, right? In that Roquan Agent Zero mode. It was a great, hopefully a sign of things to come. But for right now, a great sign in the here and now.
So how do we measure whether this is his greatest games? You can look at all sorts of stats. Ryan Mink of BaltimoreRavens.com went up and looked up PFF grades. According to PFF, this was the second highest graded game for Roquan Smith in his career. So we got a 91.9. He had those 15 tackles, the 3 for loss, 2 quarterback hits. You talked about the 63-yard touchdown on a fumble recovery. Okay, so what is his highest graded? His highest graded game? It was his 4th game as a Raven. And so this was in 2022 after EDC traded for him. And that game, he logged 11 tackles, so we had more in this one. He had a two for a loss, so we had more in this recent game. And it was just a defensive slugfest. It was 10-9 where the Ravens barely beat the Denver Broncos. John Harbaugh asked, hey, was this Roquan Smith's greatest game? He says, I've seen so many good ones. It was in that category, but he's such a consistent player. That's probably why it's such a hard question to answer, because he plays so well pretty much every week. Roquan himself was asked, was this your best game? He says, I don't really look into all of that. My job is just to go out each and every week, play the best of my ability, and that's just what I do. I let everybody else decide if it's the best game or not. That's not my decision. I'm just focused on being the best teammate, best leader, and best linebacker for you guys. So excellent answer. Now, here's the thing, Bobby. I wish it were this easy. If all it took was Ray Lewis being back there in the tunnel every week, and then Roquan Smith plays this well, then I think the Ravens would pay Ray Lewis to be in there to do it. I don't think it's that easy, although I do think that Roquan was soaking it all in. I do think it helps, A, that he's healthy. I think it helps that, B, to your point, he has a running mate that he's a little bit more comfortable with. We're going to get to some of the highlights and the film study of him and Teddy Buchanan together. And then number 3, it was Joe Flacco, and might be one of the worst offenses in the league. So I think that all kind of plays into it, but we got to give him his flowers. Bobby, here's what's crazy. That touchdown return off the fumble, he reached 19.06 miles per hour, fastest of his career. How do we not go back and watch this again? Joe Flacco sacked by Tavius Robinson. He's got all green grass ahead. Look, he can just go straight. He can act like he's on the track. The track and field. He's just smooth running it in. So hit 19.06, not quite Nate Wiggins speed or Lamar Jackson speed for that middle linebacker, though. Pretty fast for Roquan. Here it is one more time.
I was going to say, I just want to pause it right there because I know we're talking about Roquan, but I just found myself admiring the closing ferocious speed there from Tavius. Just swallows up Joe Flacco, and Roquan takes the rest. I mean, how about the scoop and score ability? 60-plus yards to the house, to your point. Green grass, baby. Agent Zero to the house. Great play. That place was rocking.
Absolutely rocking. Then Ryan Mink compiled all 15 of Roquan Smith's tackles. So let's get this here. We won't slow it down too much because there's 15 to get through. But I'm sorry, I have to slow that one down. I'm sorry. We spoke about Teddy Buchanan. First of all, Roquan Smith, you can't see it much here, but KVN and Tavius Robinson before this are communicating. They knew where the ball was going, and so did Roquan and Teddy. Look at them look at each other. The communication pre-snap. They go right to the hole where it's coming. He goes like untouched. And then look at Teddy right there with him. Right there with him. Look at our linebackers right there in the correct spot. Boom! Blown up in the backfield. One of his 3 tackles for loss. What do we got next here? Ryan Mink's got it all put together here. There's Agent Zero to your right. This one, Joe Flacco's going to step back. Does a check down. Boom! Another tackle for loss. Does my mic cut out when I say boom?
Sort of.
Here we go. Roquan Smith again, right there in the hole. It's like he sees it all. It's like he could see it before it was happening this entire game. This one, he's back in coverage yet again. They try to do a wide receiver screen. Roquan and company are there. You probably shared that one. That was one of his combined tackles. Now we got the other view where we're looking forward to him. Right. He knew that was going to be a sweep to the left. Doesn't get it on the first attempt, gets him around the ankles the second attempt. Here we go again, forward looking at him. Joe Flacco drops back. Why does he keep throwing to these tight ends and running backs where Roquan Smith is at? Like, Joe, you got to avoid Roquan Smith at this point. Has Joe learned his lesson? Okay, he's gonna hand it off here. Look at that. He sheds his tackle. He sheds his blocker there, Bobby. Gets the running back right as he comes by, times it up perfectly. Here we go on the left side here this time. Teddy again right next to him. They both shift to their right. Drops back in coverage. Okay, that one he gave up a few yards. Okay. It's going to happen when there's 15 different things here. I think he probably gave up the first down right there. Here we go again. Joe Flacco drops back. Listen, we could do this all day long. Throws it right to Roquan Smith's area again. We don't need to do all 15. Just keeps going and going and going, Bobby. You can see why people are calling this one of his best games of his career.
Yeah, well, it looks like 2023 Roquan Smith, and that's a welcome sight because we know who his running mate was in 2023. Patrick Queen before leaving for the Pittsburgh Steelers, of course, in free agency. So it's a great sign of things to come, hopefully, for Roquan. Much stiffer challenge and test and overall offense that they'll be facing. Yes, we see in the live chat, those of you that are saying it's the Browns. Sarah's acknowledged it. I've acknowledged it. We get it. But we're also acknowledging what's the truth. And that is one of Roquan's all-time games against a bunch of professionals on the other side, Sarah, that get paid as well. Now, Trenton Simpson, as for his former running mate, we'll see. Jury could still be out, but sure looks like it's Teddy Buchanan's job to lose at this point as weak side inside linebacker. But Trenton Simpson was brought up during John Harbaugh's press conference yesterday. And John said that the team would be comfortable with using him potentially in the Sam linebacker role, but does not think that he would be a defensive end candidate. So maybe, sort of in experimental mode for how you can get some usage out of Trenton. But again, John didn't bring this up. It was reporters. So that's just how he handled that question. No idea if this is imminent, this kind of role or usage. But they're looking to get 32 involved, I would think, because, man, he's the athleticism is off the charts. We just haven't seen that yet translate for him productively. On what did he finish with? Was it 15 snaps over Teddy's 60 in terms of defensively?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was Jeff Drebeck's question to your point. It's not like Lamar, or it's not like John Harbaugh brought it up out of nowhere. And it's just this idea that it looks like Teddy Buchanan is taking the lead, obviously. And so because Trenton Simpson is good in coverage, he is fast, although it's more the processing that he's been a little bit needs some work. That's why it was asked. And so he almost was like, he was asked about outside linebacker. He's like, well, he could at Sam because that's a little bit more coverage, but defensive end, he mentioned that Kyle Van Noy does both. He does Sam and he's kind of a defensive end at times. And he's like, Trenton couldn't do that, but maybe we could play him a little bit over there. So I don't know that this is like a sign of things to come. It was just a question from Jeff Drebeck. And something I forgot to mention, speaking of Jeff, he has told people on Twitter who have asked that he thinks that Patrick Ricard had suffered a setback. It wasn't that it's just taking longer. Jeff says he thinks that there was a setback going on with Patrick Ricard and that they expected him much sooner, if not week 1.
Yeah, what's it been? August 9th, 14th? So one of those two dates. The other one was attached to Jair, and memory's just not serving me right now. But it's been a long time since Pat Ricard has formally practiced with this team, and yet they're still hanging 40 burgers. They need 42 out there, Sarah. They need it, especially when you want to run the football against fronts like Cleveland and Detroit. They're going to have something to say about that defensively speaking. We know that their offense is the more high-powered unit. With Jared Goff and Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, this is without question so far to date the stiffest challenge up there with the Buffaloes. We'll see what happens with Kansas City in a couple weeks. They're staring at 0-2 in the face and look the most vulnerable they've ever been, dare I say it, throughout the Mahomes-Reed dynasty. And then we know it doesn't get any easier leading into the bye week. So It's a murderer's row beginning first 6 weeks or so for the Ravens, and then they'll have a very early bye coming up in October. And we know that there's a lot of AFC North games that are backloaded in this regular season schedule. So there really are no, areas of breathing room here, which is why you got to stack wins leading up to the bye, after the bye, and of course leading into the postseason. But that is sort of our inside linebacker, middle linebacker conversation, all of which began with number 52, Sarah, getting in Roquan's ear before he put forth one of his best games on tape as a Raven.
All right, so should we go to more super chats or quick hits first?
Whatever you want.
Let's see here. Maybe we can rip through some quick hits. Just a little shout out to, I wanted to point. Where is this? I think we lost it. Before I forget about it, a super chat came in yesterday asking about Andrew Voorhees, because it is Daniel Fa'alele who gets a lot of the attention, which we understand why. But Gordon McGinnis of PFF pointed out, he tweeted yesterday, through 2 games, left guard has been a bigger issue for the Ravens than right guard. And on top of it, right guard still isn't great. So just in week 2, we're looking at the PFF grades against the Cleveland Browns. Andrew Voorhees got the worst grade of anybody on the Ravens. He was number 21 out of 21 graded players. He got a 32.6 grade, not great. His pass blocking, woof, was a 5.3. Woof, 5.3. And his run blocking was a 49. Daniel Fa'alele ranked 13 out of 21 offensive players graded for the Ravens. He got a 58. His pass blocking was extremely, way better. He's actually in the blue when it comes to pass blocking yesterday. He had an 88.6. That's more like greenish blue there. The deep blue is a really good grade. The deeper blue up in the 90s, the better. And then his run blocking was a 44.2. So his run blocking was worse. But my goodness, Andrew Voorhees, that's not great. So something to keep an eye on. Maybe we can ask Jason from Huddle Up Films to see if he can highlight some of Andrew Voorhees for us tomorrow. He also has his own film that he's kind of cutting up himself. So we can ask and see if he wants to break that down for us once I reach out to him. I don't think he knows, but I'm going to invite him on tomorrow, and I hope he says yes.
Yeah, I was going to say along those lines, we're aiming for Jason tomorrow and hopefully Derek Coleman from All 22 coming up next week. So kind of a new little wrinkle to the vault that we're hoping to, I don't know, catering to you guys, really. I mean, we've gotten a lot of feedback, more film study when we can. And so we're really just in response to you guys and what you've been clamoring for. As for another Raven who's on the right side of grading, Sarah, especially when you look at next-gen stats, that's Nate Wiggins, second-year corner out of Clemson. Take a look at the coverage stats in week 2 that he posted. 7 targets. He allowed 4 catches, 15 yards. An opponent EPA of minus 11.5. 1 pick, of course, with a lot of English on that pick, right? Because he ran for what? It felt like 60 yards. Might have been around 60 yards in that return. And a 22.6 rating allowed when targeted. So a good solid start for Nate Wiggins, Sarah. He beefed up a little bit this offseason, you might remember. We covered that throughout training camp. He looks like it. It looks like it's paying dividends. He continues to, sure, it's a slender frame. He doesn't play like he has that slender frame. He's a beast out there, and it's fun to see him continue to grow and develop within the confines of Zach Orr's defense.
Nate the Great. That's what I like to call him. Yeah. Meanwhile, the Bengals are trying to figure out what to do now that Joe Burrow has that turf toe injury. Bobby, they've made some kind of like practice squad signings here. Who they get? They got quarterback Mike White and quarterback Sean Clifford off the Packers practice squad, according to Ari Mirov. And so now Adam Schefter has it listed out here. The Bengals quarterback room without Joe Burrow is Jake Browning, who miraculously ended up helping the Bengals win that game despite 3 interceptions. Brett, how do you say his last name? Ripien?
Yeah.
Okay. Man, I am 2 for 2 for today. I should just retire right now. We should just end the show right now. Sean Clifford and then Mike White. So I don't know that that's really going to move the needle. I think we talked about it yesterday. Without Joe Burrow, I just don't see how their season is going to survive this as Chris Canty said, they couldn't make the playoffs last year with Joe Burrow. Without him, feels like the season is doomed.
So it's a minimum 3-month timeline, right, for Joe. So that puts him at best back with the team after surgery in mid-December. Just taking a peek at their schedule. And again, Jake Browning is above 500. It's a small sample size, less than 10 games as a regular season starter in relief in Cincinnati, Sarah, but he is, for whatever it's worth, above 500. Now, he did come in and throw 3 picks, and they beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. And at the time in that second quarter when Burrow went down, Sarah, with the toe, they were down a touchdown. Jacksonville should have stepped on their necks, if you will, like we were all asking in the fourth quarter against Buffalo, but instead they cough up that lead with no Burrow. Browning comes in and throws 3 picks, a couple touchdowns on top of that, and Cincinnati, much like they did in week 1 against Cleveland, sneaks away with a win. Now look what's coming up. It's at Minnesota in week 3. Sarah, you want to know what's relevant about at Minnesota for Cincinnati in week 3?
Yes.
I'll tell you what's relevant.
Tell me.
J.J. McCarthy is down with a high ankle sprain. So he's their starter for the Vikings. Sure looks like Carson Wentz is going to suit up as QB1 for Minnesota, a.k.a. Jake Browning's going to have a chance to go up against Carson Wentz, making his first start for the Minnesota Vikings. Why do I bring that up? I don't know. Can the Bengals go in there and beat the Minnesota Vikings led by Carson Wentz, who hasn't played regular season football aside from a couple regular season finales over the last couple of years? Maybe.
They very well could.
Maybe.
It's crazy because the Bengals could easily be 0-2 right now.
Right.
In that game against the Jaguars, they got big time help from a referee call. And Trevor Lawrence, you got to win that game, Trevor Lawrence. 3 interceptions. But he didn't play well. And then we know what happened in the Browns game. They could easily be 0-2, but it's going to be crazy because despite all this, they very well could start 3-0.
Yep. And it sure looks like to me, Sarah, they're saying without actually saying it, we're going to go with Browning, right? Mm-hmm. We're not going to call, or who knows if they've placed calls, but we're not going to go after Winston. We're not going to go after Cousins. We're going with Browning. We're beefing up our practice squad. Perhaps Mike White, given his track record, Sarah, ends up being the primary backup to Browning. And they're just going to have to weather the storm over the next 3 months, which, to your point, feels a little far-fetched to think that they're going to be there when it's all said and done in mid-December at best, when potentially this timeline could work out for Burrow to return. So that's what's going on in Cincinnati right now. As for Kansas City, they signed George Karlaftis, their star defensive end, to a 4-year, $93 million extension with $62 million guaranteed. So I know you wanted to kind of play the comparison game with Adafe, who finds himself in a contract year for the Ravens.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a comparison game per se, but yeah, I mean, obviously Adafe Owe's agent is going to be like, okay, this is the market, right? It's $23 million per year is what George Karlaftis just got. And so obviously, though, he's going to have to earn it. And yesterday he had 5 pressures. Looking pretty good. He made Joe Flacco film a few times, but those pressures, as we always say, we want those pressures to become actual sacks. But I mean, he definitely hit Joe Flacco several times here. Got him again there. That's 3 times that he's breathing down his neck and hit him after he threw. Oh, that felt like a little bit late there. I wonder if that could have been called. I mean, the ball was gone and he still tackled him. Yeah. So it's always just a little bit. I mean, a tad bit like that. Those are great. Those are all pressures that are great. Joe Flacco definitely was feeling it. But as we've said, those got to translate into sacks in order to get money like Karlaftis just got.
And to be clear, that acquisition, that extension was handed out back in July. I believe it was just recirculated today on X. So this Karlaftis deal with Kansas City back in July. But again, you see the point there.
Thank you for the clarification. It has resurfaced, and I failed to mention that.
That's all right. No worries. Adafe's watching it. You already know that. Doubleheader last night, Monday Night Football. Mentioned this off the top that I thought the ending of the Bucs game was tremendous. But look who's 2-0. Chargers coming flying out of the gates. They, of course, won in, what was that game played? Brazil. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs opening night of the season, opening week of the season. And then they beat the Raiders, as they should, 20-9 last night. That game was played in Vegas. And then the second of those two, which was actually the first, meaning time-wise, the late game was of course on the West Coast. This one, Baker Mayfield, Sarah, his numbers in this one may not pop off the page at you, but he gets the job done when it matters most. A 2-minute drill, if you will, leads the Bucs to a last-minute victory over the Houston Texans. There's just something about Baker, man. You want to suit up with him and go to battle. I love his story. I love his resilience. I love how he's remade himself. A bit stubborn, a bit egotistical earlier on in his career, has opened up about the development, the personal development in interviews recently, and he has been lighting it up here in Tampa. This game was played in Houston. I'm a big Baker Mayfield fan, always have been. I think Cleveland gave up on him. He's Lamar's draft classmate, of course. He was the number 1 pick, you guys might remember, back in April of 2018. Happy for him. This is a fun story when you just look at it objectively, and Tampa's off to a 2-0 start.
Fun game last night. Glad it's happening in the NFC. Glad the Browns messed up and basically said goodbye to him to welcome in Deshaun Watson and give him all that guaranteed money. One last quick hit that I mentioned earlier. Sunday conversations with Caleb Presley, comedian, Lamar Jackson. There's like a long, I think it's like a 6-minute segment. Here's just a small snippet from it that certainly made me laugh.
Some photos from your Instagram.
All right.
And you tell me where you were when the photo was taken.
All right. I was at a gas station.
Okay, what about this one?
I was at a gas station.
Oh, really?
Gas station.
Lamar.
Gas station.
He can't even breathe.
Gas station. Yeah, my car just needed some gas.
You love pumping.
That was funny. You're right. It's a lengthy interview. Not lengthy, but it goes like 5-6 minutes. There's some dark humor in there. May not be for everybody.
That's
but
right.
Caleb's darn funny. He at one point, Lamar couldn't even get words out. As you can see there, he was laughing so hard. But yeah, those are two Florida boys too. I believe Caleb said in that interview that he lives, I can't remember where he said he lives, but somewhere on the East Coast.
Yeah, he was in the area
of Florida.
Yeah.
So go check that out. That one dropped on Sunday, to your point. Sunday, SUNDAE conversation there with Caleb. Lisa Mason and Lauren Wunderlich are our patrons before we give you the Malik Cunningham news that just dropped, and perhaps a little bit of gamemanship here with the Detroit Lions coming up. You go check that, Sarah. But Lisa Mason and Lauren Wunderlich, thank you both for believing in what we're building. You guys are you guys give us so much support through Patreon. We appreciate you for being part of the community. Guys, if you're interested in doing the same and joining the Patreon community, you can visit patreon.com/RavensVault podcast. Thank you in advance. Lisa, Lauren, thanks for the continued support. And how about the Detroit Lions? The week of 6 days out from this week 3 competition, Sarah, between the Lions and Ravens. Guess who's being plucked from Baltimore's practice squad? That is wide receiver / QB Malik Cunningham. Ooh, boy.
Do the Detroit Lions think this is going to work? Do they think this is going to work? So they're going to bring in Malik from the practice squad to try to get a bunch of information about him, about the Ravens. They'll probably make him like their Lamar Jackson on their scout team that they can practice against. I don't know. And what like is Malik gonna feel like he's a long-term stay there? Like how long are they gonna hold on to Malik for? This is just, hey, it's the game within the game, and it just goes to show you that coaches will get any smidget, scintilla possible advantage that they can gain through these game within the game.
Oh, I kind of love it. This is good stuff because it's the ultimate compliment. There is no simulating Lamar Jackson, Sarah, and you have to do whatever it takes to try and get down to the bottom of how you stop the juggernaut that is the 25-26 Baltimore Ravens. That right there, as we finish up the show, is quite the interesting tidbit on this Tuesday. Malik Cunningham joining the Detroit Lions from the Ravens practice squad. And that, Sarah, is where we end an unbelievable show and an unbelievable display of support from so many of you. Thank you for taking a monotonous Tuesday, right? A mundane Tuesday, relatively slow Tuesday, and making it anything but. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for the support.
You know we have a ton of super chats, right?
No.
Yeah,
No, I
we never
don't.
got to them before the quick hits. There's
No, I
there's at
don't.
least 5 or 6, maybe more.
Had you not said something, as you could probably tell, I was heading in the direction of closing out the show.
It's 'cause
Sorry
it's
to
2:00.
Taylor. Sorry to everybody else. Why don't you get us started here with Taylor before we jump?
Taylor says, "Hey y'all, hey, love the show, and also love when Sarah touches up her lipstick." LOL. By the way, what is the brand and shade, Pooh? What do I have here? This man, I don't know if you guys can tell, but sometimes I have a hard time reading because my eyes are going out. Okay, so this is, whoo, I gotta look, they write this so small on here. This is 580. What is this? Is this L'Oreal? Oh man, I cannot see. I think this is L'Oreal 580 peony pink. Okay. But over top, the lip gloss, this is a little bit more pricey. This is Celestial Lip Gloss. Yowen is also the actual name of the color, but Celestial Lip Gloss by Kevin Aucoin, Aucoin. I love this right here.
Taylor,
Man.
this is a first.
Free sponsorship.
Taylor, this is a first. Sarah getting into the nitty-gritty on lip gloss and the procedural pre-show process that goes into making her camera ready.
And I'm
Good
sure
stuff,
our 90, I don't know if people know this, 90% or is it 95? Something crazy like that. 90 or 95% of our audience is male. So I always appreciate, sometimes we can fit a little femininity in here, right?
Totally. Well done, Taylor.
Okay.
Win Stones Chronicles with a $20 super chat. I'm getting goosebumps again. Let me out there. That's from Ray Lewis's pregame pep talk to Roquan Smith. Nuno is celebrating 6 months of channel membership, and Nuno commented on that exact commentary from earlier on, Sarah.
It says Ro needs to record that conversation and hear it before every game. Love from Portugal. Bom dia, VAULTRONs.
William Coley, I just went on a date the other night, and one of the walk and talk dates that I was telling you about, and she told me that she's going to Lisbon for a wedding coming up in November, and I was like, oh, I can tell you a thing or two about Lisbon, one of my favorite spots that I went to when I was studying abroad, and I know you had your stint in Portugal as well. William Coley has become our newest channel member, so Will, welcome to official VAULTRON status. And PHP, my turn for him. He says, Chiefs fan here, Bills fan here, haters, trolls, we made it. The Vault is the premier destination for undercover Ravens lovers. Keep our feathers out of your mouths. Hashtag 19-1, hashtag no picks, hashtag 40 every week. PHP getting after some of the opponents that have made our way, and I should say their way, into our live chat. That brings us to the Bull 9474. Sarah, celebrating 3 months with us.
Says, do you think they should pull up Okoye since KVN probably won't be able to go and Broderick Washington isn't performing well? We'll see. I think the more obvious one is just to do a David Ojabo.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah. Sod Blitz says, team, quote, can I borrow a QB? Added Geno Smith to replace the injured Burrow. And then this morning picked up Indiana Jones because Geno threw 3 picks. William Coley, for you.
I've been a fan. Thanks for all the Ravens content. Hashtag leagues in trouble.
Oh, thanks, Will. And thank you for your channel membership and super chat on top of that. Isaiah says, do you guys think Trenton would have succeeded in Mike McDonald's scheme, or was Queen that good? I tend to go the latter of the two of those. What about you, Sarah?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Queen, it took a minute for him to even come on in Mike McDonald's scheme. So,
well, I guess why I went there so quickly though was.
But is Queen better than Trenton Simpson? Yes.
Yeah, but his lasting impression, I guess, is where I went immediately, just like 2023. You looked at it from a body of work, as a whole, which you're right. He took some time.
Yeah.
Took some time, definitely from a processing standpoint. He was the type of guy early on in his career that was just trying to do too much. Just trying to do too much. I know, Tilly, it's a long show, and people just got into the driveway, so she's going off right now because she's my guard dog. It's about meatloaf! Eric Hill with a $50 super chat. If they're going to be loud outside, I'll be loud too. The meatloaf times 2. Meatloaf squared. Here comes Tilly T running up to us. You want to come say hello? Sarah, why don't you read this one from Eric?
Yeah, I got you, Tilly. This is the first time since Lamar's career where I'm not worried about the season. We are going to the Super Bowl, Eric says. Love y'all. And Bobby, Get your voice ready again. Tilly, I'm sorry, but Bobby, he just dropped to end the show. I'm assuming it's to end the show. I don't know why you keep taking it off the screen. Stop touching it, Bobby. You handed the controls to me when Tilly came over. I can do this.
3 for 3. Yeah, but you know what's funny?
Another 50 burger of memberships from Eric Hill. Cue it, Ma the Meatloaf.
You are so funny that you missed my meatloaf squared that I threw into the last one because it was so loud.
Do it again.
Squared. You know, I said, look, if they're going to be loud outside and disrupt the end of this massively long, colossal live stream, then I'm going to go a 2.0 for Eric Hill, who's been on one today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. However many super chats that the guy's given. He's on a one-man wrecking crew alongside PHP. He's got a cavalry with him that's always constantly dumping support into this channel. We appreciate you, Eric Hill, for going nuts. It's like Derrick Henry getting downhill. He came into this Tuesday episode with a problem on his hands, and he made it his freaking problem to come in here, and he gave us 0 problems. I know that. I can't even freaking talk English language right now. Because you literally learn how to you run out of words, okay? Ultimately to describe.
You got stuck there on the
Unbelievable.
I believe that Eric Hill has gifted 200 memberships today. I believe PHP had 100. I think DHB Senior had another 10, and then there's other people just like becoming members themselves. It was an insane Tuesday.
Yeah, you lose the ability to properly.
You're stuck again.
I am stuck because you want to react accordingly, and you just get to the point where you don't know what to say. 1,134 channel memberships. We've never crossed the 1,100 super chat. 1,100 channel membership threshold, let's call it, and it's 1,134. That's where we are right now, and you guys put on a ridiculous display of channel growth today. So thank you, seriously, thank you times a million.
It is times a million, and a PHP said it best. He says the vault is on fire, and the firemen started it.
That's the perfect analogy. It's the perfect analogy. I was going to close out of the show without even like displaying like 6 or 7 super chats because it just, I don't even know what to say. I mean, here's 120 minutes worth of content. And apparently in return, we just get literally a sleigh ride full of super chats and VAULTRON gifts. And
here's what's funny is Eric, a few like 20 minutes ago said he was going to behave now. And that lasted for like 10 minutes. That's number one. Number two, Eric somehow figured out how to beat the YouTube because they kept blocking him before when he kept wanting to give super chats or memberships. And so he's cracked the code. He's found the cheat code to YouTube. That is for sure.
I don't even know what to say. You guys are incredible. And the best part is, I think, given Eric's generosity, Sarah, it's far from over because before the end of the week, we're going to give out 2 lower bowl seats courtesy of him at his request. So 2 VAULTRONs will receive 2 tickets to the lower bowl of one of the games of the year, Ravens-Lions, 6 days from now in Baltimore, Monday Night Football. So that's what we have to look forward to. Partner, Parkites wants to know if there's a live stream on Monday. We will have a noon live stream as we always do the night of, or I should say the day of weekday primetime games, or at least we typically do, unless it's on a holiday here and there. But Monday's not a holiday. Maybe it is for PHP since it's prime time at the bank. So Parkites, we will talk. You guys are unbelievable. There's literally a growing audience as we get ready to hit we just hit the 2-hour mark. 120 minutes. Thank you guys. We don't do this without you. We don't go above 60 minutes if it wasn't, you guys make it so worth it and beyond. So we'll have a Purple Friday giveaway. Sarah, maybe it'll be 2 giveaways because Ray Dog has forfeited his prize from last Friday. So we'll have more on that. We'll have more on the ticket giveaways. And speaking of giveaways, before we close, we do want to say thank you to Primary Residential Mortgage once more for the opportunity to partner up And just know that you have a couple more weeks to enter yourself into the giveaway. Click the link that's a pinned comment right now in the live chat. That same link is in the show notes. You guys know the drill. There's been a streaming ticker on the bottom line throughout this entire show. You can get the information needed to enter yourself into that giveaway. So for Sarah Ellison, for Primary Residential Mortgage, for Eric Hill and DHB Senior and Park Heights Profit and all of our wonderful, wonderful Vaultrons, I'm Bobby Trossett signing off from this special, unique 120-plus minute long Tuesday episode of The Vault. And as always, Vaultrons, we appreciate you for spending some time with us. We'll catch up with you on Wednesday, if not before. Join me later this afternoon on my channel, and we'll catch up with you guys later. Talk to you.